Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Diego Avilez. Bruh, thanks for coming back.
Dude, always a pleasure coming here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know last time we talked about the history of Latin music and the culture and all that stuff. You do a lot with music, bro. And I kind of want to get into conversation about that because you're making a change in the community. So why don't you tell everybody kind of what you do?
Yeah, so I am an artist. I'm a pianist. I produce events and music series with our team at Oak City Music Collective. I'm a music agent with the Incredible Talent Group and overall psychedelic salsa warrior at Tumbao, our psychedelic salsa band. So, just dabble in the three areas that kind of come together when it comes to making music happen.
Now, you definitely got a trifecta going on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about OCMC.
Okay.
A little bit. You're for the people who don't know. Why don't you tell them what OCMC is all about?
Yeah. So the Oak City Music Collective is an organization that we curate and create programs and music series in the Triangle in North Carolina that highlight the diversity of our state, of our music scenes, that really focuses on creating events that unite us as a community through music and arts. And, really specializing in bringing out some really great talent that lives here in the Triangle and that comes from abroad and nationally and regionally as well.
Yeah.
So really try to put in these really fun concepts across all different types of musics. And we focus on free programming. So our mission is to make these programs free and accessible to our communities and community members, and yeah, it's been great. 2024 we had over 200,000 people attend Oak City music events.
Nice, dude.
We've put about $350,000 into the hands of local artists, and hopefully by 2026 we'll be at $1 million into the hands of local artists.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and it keeps getting wilder, but it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. I don't know of anybody who's changing the community the way you're changing it when it comes to the music industry, right? Because I think before Oak City, it was like, if you want to see a Latin band, you got to go to an event that's Latin based. Right? But you're changing the game where you want to see a Latin band, go to this event that where everyone's at, not just Latin people. Like that. So you're changing it in that way.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, hey, first and foremost, I think, the work that we're doing with Oak City, it's due to the fact that we have such a great team, right? The people I work with, which has been a journey to put this really small team together, but really believe in this vision and really understand the importance of it. Mostly because we're all artists, we're all musicians by what we do. So
yeah.
And I think that a lot of the work that Oak City is doing is able to be done because of a lot of other folks in our community that have been doing this work and fighting the good fight for many years and setting a really good foundation for this music to exist the way it does, right? I think Oak City has stepped in a way that's really unique, like you said, to really bring people together that wouldn't otherwise come together through music. That has really been our main focus, and yeah, man, I'm really grateful for all the things that we've been able to do, and I'm excited for what's coming too,
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's dive a little bit back. So why is it important to have Like, what is it about Oak City music that is important? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Oak City Music Collective.
And that might have to do with like why you started it too.
Yeah. So, Oak City Music Collective started out in my backyard during the pandemic. It came out of a need. There was no music, live music anywhere, and I had quit my job at that moment, and as a musician that was not playing any shows and stuck at home with a big backyard, I was like, I need to do something. And,
Yeah.
We rented a stage, got some tables, some pop-ups, put them all 7 feet apart per, the guidelines at that time. Everybody wear their mask, everybody come and be in your bubble. At that time we had, your bubble, and we sold the tables, and it was sold out weekend after weekend. We called them the Oak City Mixers. And we hired these bands, these reggae and tumbao played, and like other bands came out and played, and it was a great time. And people were able to experience live music where there had been none for months.
Right.
And eventually we had to stop doing them. And then as things started opening up, really that's when, it clicked for the need for us to have spaces that were so mixed and that highlighted all different types of, like all different peoples, not only musicians, but everyone in our community, right? Vendors, small business owners. How can we activate spaces? And that's when we launched Oak City and started working with the city of Raleigh, with Downtown Raleigh Alliance to put on music series that were free to the community and highlighted. I think the first year we highlighted over 40 different genres from musicians that lived in the city of Raleigh alone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it got launched.
Right. And then like, it's also like, you go to these general festivals downtown or something like that, and it used to be like the same band and or the same genre of band and stuff like that, and it's never like highlighting kind of what the roots of our people, not Latin people, but the Raleigh people can contribute to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that was something that was really important for me too as a Latin artist, right? Because when I first was like, hey, I have an interest in playing Latin music, I have an interest in playing, salsa or something like that. And, a lot of the, as a young musician, right, not knowing a lot of the folks also at this time that were in the same position and doing a very similar work, it became this thing where it was just like, oh, you want to play salsa, you go to, this restaurant down on Capitol Boulevard and like, 20, 30 minutes away from downtown. And I was like, no, like I live here. Like I want to play music here. Like why do we think that we can't play Latin music at this main venue and sell tickets? So like really through seeing the work that we did with Tumbao and like that other bands were already doing as well, other salsa orchestras that were, dipping into main spaces, into jazz clubs, the jazz scene in the Triangle, which, a lot of folks doing work there, Brevin Hamden and Bean Clemens and Al Strong and all these folks that have been doing the work for years and folks that I constantly try to talk to touch base and build community and seek mentorship when it comes to folks that have been doing the work here for a long time, right? Really inspired this really forward movement with Oak City of creating these really eclectic bills, these really diverse bills in main spaces for people that exist in this community to take up space in this community and like fight gentrification in a way, you know what I'm saying? Like fight how people are getting pushed out of our communities, like that's really what Oak City is about at the core.
Yeah.
To create safe spaces for folks where we should be safe, where women, where femme folks can feel safe being at a show, where we hire musicians, where, that of integrity, you know, that aren't going to make their audiences feel unsafe.
Right.
You know, like really being careful about who we're putting on stage, really being intentional about the bills that we're curating, and the spaces that we're taking up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's a big part of it.
Right. And then when you talk about such diversity, you also have to, you know, bring in a space where they're not used to that kind of thing. Some struggles start to happen, right? You know, what kind of struggles have you seen building Oak City music?
Well, you know, I think last time I was on the show, we spoke about like the history of Latin music.
Right.
You know, and we spoke about anything from like Celia Cruz to Carlos Santana to like Bad Bunny's new album at the time. And, you know, it's funny, I go to venues and, you know, we're playing this music, and I tell, you know, a big struggle, for example, has been we go to a venue and I curate a bill, and it's like an Afro fusion band or something like that, and then tumbao later on. And then, you know, you have this band come and it's great and everybody's like really warmed up. The audience is digging it. They're dancing, they're moving, and then the band finishes and we have transition time between that band and tumbao.
Yeah.
And the music in the house that goes on at the venue is like some blues, like not even blues, some like random indie rock band, which like no hate, you know, I love that. But it's just not the vibe for this show. Like there's an element of curation. And I know I've spoken about curation from an artist's point of view before on this show. There's an element of curation that's like, hey, like we're curating an experience. You know, like it's an experience. Like when the band ends, the experience doesn't hit pause and then it resumes when the other band comes. Like the experience is the whole time.
Right.
So how can we curate that for the audience? And for me, like house music is important. So like that's one of the struggles. Like I think I was at this venue in Charlotte once and I was like, hey, like when the band is done, play some Bad Bunny on the venue. And he was like, what? Like Bad Bunny? Like why would I play? I'm like, bro, like you don't need to understand.
Right.
I'm not expecting your demographic to understand. And this is conversations I've had with a lot of white men that they're like, we don't think this is gonna work. We don't see how this is gonna work. And I've been like, okay, this is not for you. I'm not curating these shows for you, for your demographic. Like
right.
You're not the main interest here. And like, wow, like
it's like read the
room. Sorry to burst your bubble that you're not the center of the universe, like in a lot of dynamics, but like this is not for you, it's for the community. And the community likes Bad Bunny. And the community likes salsa, and the community likes funk, and that's what we're gonna give them. Like you know, I don't care that you've been behind the sound booth for 20 years. Like, yeah, it's time to change. It's time to progress.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's one of the main struggles and the pushback that I've experienced in venues or curating, you know.
Do you find yourself having to maybe like hire your own DJ for in between?
We've done that for sure before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like a lot, you know, most venues are great. Every once in a while that this happens, you know, and I'm just like, you know, I'm taken aback by it, and it puts me in the situation. Where I think, wow, like I have this experience, and I know that this works, and I do this a lot, so I feel comfortable telling you, like, hey, you're wrong,
right?
You're wrong, and like you need to do this, and like you know, to really use the authority I know I have, and like it puts me in the train of thought, like I know a lot of artists don't feel comfortable doing this, and
yeah, because they feel like they have no power.
Yeah, and it affects their shows. It affects the ticket sales. You know, people leave during that transition because the vibe changed up way too much. They go to the next place. It affects the way that they play the show. It affects possible ticket sales. It affects everything. And then at the end of the night, you know, they're like, oh well, we don't know what happened. It's like I know what happened. You know,
right.
I know what happened. A lot of artists do know what happened, but there's this unhealthy dynamic. I do think that a lot of venues, and you know, again, giving credit to the venues that do so, right? But sure. I do think a lot of venues need to educate their staff, and the fact that, you know, be like tending to the community, which is a diverse community, is for the benefit of everybody, including their own venues. So like they need to make sure that they're educating in like what demographics they're serving, right? Even when it comes to like things like alcohol, right? Like I've been at venues where like there's a lot of Latin people come in, and they don't have like any, like Latinos, we don't really drink Bud Light. Like we drink Coronas or Modelos or something like that. Something as small a detail as that. Mm-hmm. Like, do you have what this demographic is consuming?
Right.
Are you willing to do that? Like,
in order to boost the sales up too.
Right, because that benefits you. You know what I'm saying? And that's information that we're giving you. And like, if you're getting this information, like, why not take it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Things of that sort. It's just like.
And not just like the venues too. You're talking about, if you're changing the game, you're talking about the funds, right? The funds. What kind of struggles have you seen with the funds?
With funding programs?
Yeah.
Oh man, funding is.
Is that kind of like the hardest for you when it comes to
Absolutely.
like having to change people's minds through that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a really interesting. I feel like all of our partners and all of the venues and business owners that we work with that we've presented like, hey, like this is a project, a music series, a show, that you need to invest in. Mm-hmm. The partners that we have that have been like, okay, we're not exactly sure about all of this, but we don't need to be sure because you guys are sure. Here it is. We're gonna fund it.
Yeah.
Success. Out of the park.
Right.
Like those venues are doing well. Those series are doing well. They're attended. You know what I'm saying? Our jazz series at Neptune's in downtown Raleigh. I mean, that's a great example of venue ownership that really, like put their money where their mouth is, you know what I'm saying? And said, okay, like we're going to fund this program. And it's like, it's such a successful music series. I mean, it's packed out every single month. We have the whole year booking into next year. I mean, it's just such a mecca of jazz in Raleigh. It came at a time where like all the clubs that held jazz in Raleigh were closed. You know what I'm saying? And I talked to a lot of folks, and they don't see it. So they're like, oh, like it seems like a risk. And I understand, right? As a business owner myself,
right? I
understand like not wanting to invest in things that you may not necessarily know the return.
Right. Something new.
Right. And like, that's kind of where, well, we have a track record, thankfully. We have a really good track record, and that we share with potential new partners and businesses. And I don't know, it's this weird middle ground, right? Where folks have to believe in the programming. They have to be willing to invest in their community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you Raleigh, North Carolina, it has a culture, the music, but it's still very much being developed. So you have to be willing to invest in the community and the music scene in order to see that community also give back to your business. Like it's just an investment.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it is. The first couple of months at Neptune's were like, okay, like we're doing this, like let's push it. It wasn't like we did it and it was like, wow, like, it's full house the first night. No, like it took a couple, a few months, like 2 or 3 months, but like month 4, like from then on, it's been.
Did you see any amazing. Like pushback from any kind of venues or people who fund your events and stuff like that? Like the first event kicks off. Okay, there's a few people, and then it grows, right? But it takes time. But do they have the patience to see that through? You know what I mean?
I've seen it all. I've seen it. I've seen partnerships, and I'm very, very grateful for all the partnerships that we do have. I think because of the way that we curate, and we're very straightforward with the way that we curate and intentional about how we program things. We talk about these things, and we work with folks that also get it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like those types of metrics aren't something that's not understood. You know what I'm saying? Like our partners understand what they're investing in.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we work with folks that are like, all right, like this better work. Like, like if someone is kind of like that from the beginning, I'm just like, you know what, like this is not
right.
This
but
is not
it's hard when you're starting off though, because you don't have like a track record yet, right?
Right.
So like you just need that one person to kind of
Yeah.
say just yes,
Yeah, absolutely. Like for us, that was at the beginning. It was like the city and like DRA, like putting really folks in those organizations, very key folks. At that moment, it was David Moore at DRA, now with ArtSpace. Great community member and curator and organizer, and it was like cool, like this works, this concept works, like bringing diverse music, like how can this not work, like regardless of where it is, like this is good for the community, so let's do it.
Yeah.
And like that proved itself, like those concepts prove themselves, like they don't need any extra anything, they're just like you put good music on the street for people for free, the community's gonna come out, and then they're gonna consume, and the businesses are gonna see that, they're gonna feel it, everyone's gonna feel it, it's a win-win for everybody. You know what I'm saying? If you put good music somewhere, it's gonna work. If you have good artists making your graphics, it's gonna work.
Right.
If you do the right type of marketing, it's gonna work. Like, of course there's like, that's not to say like people have tried stuff and but it's ebb and flow, but it works. It's the number one killer of events is doubt. When you have that doubt built in you, you bring that doubt onto the event that you're throwing, and you kill it. Like you crush it.
Yeah.
I've seen business owners crush great concepts because of doubt. They're like, I don't know. It's like, all right, like you've been spending all this time second guessing, double doubting, where you could have spent all this energy and all this time pushing and sharing and knowing that it's going to work and like calling in that success.
Right.
Like that's really the main difference that I've seen. And people could be like, oh, well, Diego, it's all about numbers. Like it's not. It's not about numbers. It is about energy. It's about, communication. It's about intention. Numbers are like numbers are there.
Well, when you have the intention and the energy and stuff like that, the money follows.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
But like, part of what you do is also book musicians as well, right? So you have a talent agency right now, right? What's it called?
Incredible Talent Group.
Incredible Talent Group.
That's right.
And so talk to me a little bit about that and why you started it.
So Incredible Talent Group is a talent agency that started due to the high volume of like niche artists that we were already working with through Oak City. We were working with a lot of really like world-class Latin jazz and straight ahead jazz and psychedelic and salsa and Black American music artists that we were in contact with and plugging them into Oak City events and events that partners of Oak City were having. So really there was this need for a lot of these artists to be represented in the southeast of the US and in the East Coast and beyond now. And that's kind of where the talent agency came to be because of this need for representation for artists and placing artists in the right venues and in the right festivals and in the right music series and being able to build healthy tours and things of that sort.
Through Oak City, man, you really got to see a lot of different bands, right?
Yeah.
And so and when you're seeing different bands like that, it's like there's so much talent out there, right?
So much.
And then you start to see why aren't they at a level that they're supposed to or that they could be.
Right. Yeah. So much undervalued and underrepresented and talent that and we've talked about like paying dues, like it doesn't matter, what I'm saying? Like the talent that we're booking some local artists, mostly regional and national artists and international artists, and working in tandem with folks that we already work with at Oak City and connections that we've been able to make in other states and other cities and other countries to kind of funnel artists from North Carolina and bring them into Latin America, bring artists from Latin America into, New York, Washington, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Atlanta. It's it's wild. It's such a journey, really.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, the talent agency is great. It's doing great.
It's doing good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. We have like a really great roster of artists that we represent across some.
So what kind of things do you do for the artist? With the agency.
With the agency, the artists that we sign, we make sure that they're at a place that, you know, they're tour ready and they're active and they're ready to go, you know, when it comes to where they need to be at in order to perform at like recognized and legitimate stages and venues and festivals and series and all these things. Mm-hmm. So what we do is that as the agents, we of course book them at different places. We build tours for them and we connect them with resources to be able to keep developing their brand, highlight their strengths, you know, to be able to record and produce and distribute their music through our partners.
Yeah.
And also to dive into like licensing, things like sync licensing and things of that sort as well.
Yeah, that just reminds me of like music in games, right? Mm. That's how some famous bands got started.
Yeah.
By their music in video games and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, have you ever hosted like workshops and stuff like that? Of like different things, like branding workshop for musicians or something like that.
Yeah, we have with Oak City in the past. We bring, you know, people that specialize in the area to really talk to artists about that, and it's really well received.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, those are things that we do through Oak City Music Collective periodically. With the talent agency, it becomes more of a one-on-one, you know, between the agent and the artist, if there is a need for that, you know, like, hey, like, you know, we see this going on, like we see this opportunity for you to brand this, you know, kind of building strategy around not only their tours but their brand. Like the same way with Oak City, like with ITG, with the Incredible Talent Group, try to be very intentional and caring about the artists that we represent. You know, there's a lot of talent agencies that will just sign all these artists and book them wherever just to book artists, just to book them, just give you 50 bookings and, you know, we make, you know, $50 per booking and that's the money that we make and we don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's almost like they just like took them and splatter on the wall, see if it sticks.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't stick, they dump them.
Yeah. And like as an artist that wants to get booked, like how could you not, somebody tells you like, hey, I'm going to book you all these places, like that's going to seem attractive, you know?
Yeah.
With the artists that we work with, you know, we have from the very beginning, it's like, hey, like we're not going to book you at anything that's not going to serve you as a musician, you know, help you build your audience, move your career forward, and pay you fairly. You know, like those are like the pillars of bookings for myself as an artist. And that's the focus of this talent agency too.
Nice, man.
You know, because quality over quantity all day.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely.
Are you finding it hard to kind of find talent, or is it because you have so many connections already? It's like, what are the qualifications?
Yeah.
I know you mentioned a little bit of it already, like touring, like working band already.
Yeah. You know, it depends. When it comes to finding talent, I haven't had a problem just because I think we live in such a rich and diverse community. I think with me personally, my community really expands beyond North Carolina due to like a lot of the other work that I do with my own projects and with Oak City and partners, you know, that we have. You know, we're able to come across a lot of great bands, you know. So it's like, you know, we come across bands that are already doing the work and they want to just refine and bring more efficiency to their booking process, and we're able to take them on if it's a right fit.
Okay.
And you know, there's been artists that aren't playing many shows at all, but have 15 million streams on Spotify and Apple Music because they're making great music. And it's like, okay, like you should be playing shows. This is not your strength, and it's fine. It shouldn't be. It's like your strengths are where your strengths are.
Right.
Like, let's support you in this booking process. You know.
Interesting. So you're building all these relationships. You have a lot of relationships with bands, venues, and has there ever been like a point where like the trust isn't there anymore?
With venues and stuff?
Well, I guess with venues, with musicians, with bands, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. More than I'd like, unfortunately. But
Okay.
But yeah.
So it's a common thing, you think?
I don't. If you ask a lot of people, they will say yes.
Okay.
It's a common thing. I think with musicians and bands and projects that I work with, it's been less. Like I think my filter for that is like very, it's very obvious in a sense.
Yeah, so
I
you
think
can catch it faster.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like venues and places that host music, it's been more of the scenario where you see people switch up or they pull a move on you and you're like, wow, like this I didn't really know you were gonna go this way. Luckily, because we've been doing this work for the way that we've been doing it for how long we've been doing it.
Yeah.
The conversation really goes into like, well, this is why we have this contract signed, and you can't do that.
Right.
That's not the case a lot of times for a lot of artists, because a lot of artists are putting their trust in these venues and all stuff. And that's not to say that people should mistrust venues, but people should definitely know how to stand up for themselves, and we should advocate for folks and artists, and
Sure.
that's kind of what both Oak City and this talent agency is.
Yeah.
A main focus of it is like how to be advocates for artists, right? Because we're focused on creating beautiful music. Like we're not here, learning legalities and all these things. Like I've had my own journey. I've had music series stolen from me. I've had venues that didn't want to pay us after they agreed to pay us. Like those are things that I'm not exempt from in my own learning journey. And after that, talking to folks in different places and in the musicians union and and legal legal entities, just relying on good people that have different sources of knowledge in my community to learn and understand how we should approach these processes going forward.
Yeah.
And a big point of all this work is to not gatekeep that knowledge, but to share it with the artists.
Yeah.
And therefore, help artists feel empowered and be empowered in their work, right?
And like part of that empowerment is learning how to talk to people, like learning how to talk to venue owners, learning how to talk to their staff, and stuff like that. Little things like that, I think, will go a long way.
100%. Yeah.
Is that something that you kind of instill in the musicians that you represent, like communication?
Yes, I think that
building that relationship type of thing.
Yeah, I think that musicians are naturally have to learn how to navigate communication, right? I don't think every artist or every musician is like the best at communicating, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. And that's where like you can rely on someone else, right? Like that's where it's like, hey, like my agent handles this for me, right? My agent handles this communication for me because this is not my strength, and that's okay. I think knowing our strengths and learning to analyze what our strengths are is just as important as being able to communicate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's something important for your musicians that you have signed to bring up to you. Is like, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses?
Oh, yeah.
And then how can we strengthen those weaknesses or kind of navigate that?
Right.
Kind of thing, right?
Right.
So do you ever get like, because like I have an agent, right? Acting agent. And every time there's an issue or anything I have a question about, even if I'm on set, I give her a call. You know what I mean? And say, this is what's going on. And then she takes care of it.
Right.
So like, is that kind of the same thing with you as well?
Yeah, yeah. The way that we work through our systems and how we streamline the information that we gather for whatever engagement our artists are participating in, we make sure that the artist feels really well versed in the information that they have before they get there. That they know every single detail about every single thing going on, from A to Z, from arrival to departure, from
Oh, wow.
who are they going to talk to when they get to the venue, who their point of contact is, who the sound engineer is. You know, we really try to use this mix of procedure and systems and technology to make sure that we benefit the artists that we work with, and also by default benefit the venues and our partners that we work with to make things as easy as possible. You know, that's really
great, man.
that's really
So it's like really organized.
yeah, it has to be. It has to be.
Yeah, it does.
It has to be. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a Capricorn, but it has to be,
Right.
you know, organized. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, no, man. Otherwise, it's, you know, I love Google Sheets, but you need some type of automation in there somewhere. You know,
Yeah.
especially nowadays, we have so much tech. You know, so much.
Yeah, what kind of tech
AI.
are you using for your businesses?
We use like programs that like help us manage tasks and different processes like booking and like invoicing and contracts and you know, itineraries and like geo tracking, and that combine like data entry and automation and some like AI to help us streamline
Gotcha.
those processes.
Yeah.
You know, like so that and we make sure that everyone's kind of in our system to make sure that
You
that-
finding like AI like helps a lot in what you do?
I think AI is not going away, you
No,
know,
it's definitely not.
anytime soon, and I think that
It's never gonna go away.
yeah,
it's
and
here.
and like, you know, I think AI has its place.
Sure.
I think AI is not meant to do certain things. It shouldn't be doing things. It shouldn't be doing things that, like, you know, artists should be doing.
Oh, right. Yeah, you
know,
got that.
Yeah,
Forgot about that.
you know, it shouldn't be doing things like that. But like, yeah, like organizing my schedule and like streamlining invoices and contracts, like AI all day, please. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it should be for, in my opinion. You know?
Right.
Yeah, make my life easier in that way, like 100%. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking forward, man. Looking forward with OCMC, with the talent agency. What do you see there?
Looking forward. So Oak City Music Collective, you know, we're aiming to make sure that we have music programming year round. So we're working on crowdfunding and, you know, fundraising so that we are able to provide these just phenomenal music series and programs like, you know, the International Jazz Open Jam, the Oak City Salsa Social. We're thinking about starting a new edition of the Jazz Jam in Durham. You know, we have our Underground Market series that take place at Bond Bros and Cary, the North Hills Midtown Park, Durham Central Park. So really all these really beautiful music series that take place in different seasons throughout the year. We want to keep them going constantly and start working with really concept series to bring international artists into North Carolina, right? Like our one of our main focus is to make North Carolina into like this really big epicenter of like cultural diversity through music.
Right.
So, you know, the work there is to keep pushing, keep curating, and link up with folks that want to support us, you know, that want to invest in their communities and really see that return, you know, in so many ways, you know. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you ask any of our partners, any of our sponsors, they're so ecstatic to work with us that, you know, it makes us feel good to be able to give them back.
Absolutely.
You know,
Have you ever thought about like, you know, doing something with the schools and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've thought about it. We've thought about school programming.
I feel like that's a lot of red tape, but I don't know.
It is. It's a lot of specifics, but, you know, like in a nutshell, it's like, you know, yeah, when we bring artists into the area from another part of the world to play a show in Raleigh per se, you know, we are looking to work with schools to put workshops, to bring them, you know, before the show, during the day, to present to schools what they do, to share, you know, hold a a workshop or a seminar that where kids can come, things of that sort. So yeah, we've been looking into that. It's not something that we've done a lot of,
right?
But we're definitely looking into that. The more that we are able to look into grants and funding, and the more that we're being approached by organizations and nonprofits and private groups, it keeps coming up more and more. So I think this is definitely in the plans to integrate that into our programming.
For sure, yeah. I think the more you grow, the more it's going to be a possibility to do more of that.
Yeah.
So with the talent agency, what are you looking forward to as far as like the next 2, even 5 years now? Like, where do you see it?
The talent agency keeps growing. We're adding more artists to our roster. Mm-hmm. So I'm really looking forward to some really awesome tours when it comes to our artists. Like just seeing how these artists just keep taking off.
Yeah.
And how they keep playing just festivals and music series. And we're working on bringing a lot of these artists abroad, bringing them to Latin America, really helping them expand their fan base and build international fan bases. And so yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward in the next 5 years. Yeah, like just working with artists from all over the world, really, and both bringing them here to the U.S. or representing them here in the U.S. and being able to work in other countries to bring artists from the U.S., North Carolina, and everywhere, really.
Yeah. I think a lot of artists need a little education on social media and like how to connect with the audience online and stuff like that.
Yeah, social media is hard, man.
It is.
It's hard.
It's hard, but people like to see faces. They like to see their personalities and stuff like that.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of artists just put their music out, which is great, but they also want to see what kind of person you are and stuff like that. Like, how can I also relate to you,
right,
without the music?
Yeah, I think that it's important to show your humanity through your music.
Right. Yeah.
And to relate and to put out relatable content while also keeping your brand. Which is hard. It's hard because social media is one of these things where it's like, it was never in the plans, right? Like type of thing, right? Like it's just about great music, and now it's like about great music and social media. So,
it's part of the business, though.
It is.
No.
It's you can't do it without social media. You can't. Like we live in a world where you just can't do it. I'm not a fan of it personally. Meaning, like, I'm not a fan that you have to do it, but you have to do it.
Right.
I mean, I have 5 social media accounts. You know what I'm saying? Like, we do market. Like, everything we do is through social media. So you got to do it. I tell artists, I'm like, hey, like, just develop a plan. Like, sketch something out. Like, get a calendar, plan some content out, take photo shoots, be intentional about the material that you're collecting and gathering and creating. And make a plan for it, what I'm saying? Like if you're gonna, drop a single or drop an EP or an album, take a moment to like ask for guidance from other artists or your agents or other musicians. Research on the internet, what I'm saying? Like even distributors will tell you like, hey, we need 5 weeks. Like distribute that music within 5-6 weeks, 2 months. Plan out your releases. Plan out media content, video content for those releases, get snippets, tease that music, what I'm saying? Like, start playing it in your shows, like all these things that you could do to promote your upcoming releases and to give yourself social media content, right? I think it's a thin line, right? Because like, as a person that gathers a lot of content, let's say when I'm on the road as an artist, right? I have like I hate taking away from the moment. Right? If we're having a moment, like I don't want to pull out my phone and be like, ha ha ha, this is organic. You know, like I don't like doing that.
What's up, guys? Yeah, just in here.
Yeah. It's like it could take away, which is like, a lot of artists will tell you like, I hate taking away from the moment, and like my approach to that has been like, find a way that you can gather media and not take away from the moment. There is some way to do that.
Sure.
For me, it was like I bought a really small camera, like a really small, like smaller than a GoPro.
Yeah.
And it records like a VHS. You know, like that quality.
Right.
So it's just like I just turn it on. I just like film things when they're happening, just organic moments, and it doesn't take away from it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not fake.
And there's also like the camera glasses too.
Yeah, you know, just there's ways that you can integrate into who you are, right?
Sure.
Some people are more tech savvy and they can record things that are happening or be like, hey guys, do this real quick. Let's record this and have a lot of fun with it and not take away from the moment, but rather create moments, which I think is really a skill.
Yeah.
And some artists don't necessarily have that, and that's okay. And I think there's a method for everybody to be able to create content in one way or another.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think looking at social media influencers that do like, you know, like get to know Raleigh with Sana, right? So like that's a good example of I'm filming this for 2-3 seconds, and then I'm filming other things for 2-3 seconds, and then let's just combine it all and make a video.
Right.
And like that's a great way to do it, especially like if you're not comfortable with the camera.
Yeah. Like me personally, like I said, like I have so many social media accounts. I have so much media out there, so much content. We're constantly putting content out there, stories, blah blah. And my solution to that is a lot of times to hire out folks that can create this content for me.
Yeah.
And take that weight off of me because that's not my strength. And I'm not going to spend all the time into doing something that is just, I'm not called to do, you know, like I'd much rather hire somebody that is able to do that, you know? So like as artists, as creatives, as curators, like if we can start planning out budgets or setting apart money for that, it's going to benefit everybody too. You know, I think it's a very collaborative approach, you know, like collaboration, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that's all good, man. I think the takeaways is to do the work, do the small work now so you can have a system in place.
Right.
And so things would be so much easier in the future.
Yeah. Foundation and processes. It's a pain in the ass at the beginning.
Yes.
It's a pain in my ass.
Damn, I saw the trauma in your face.
Yeah, you saw that? It's just like flashbacks. But it's so worth it. Once you have that system, it's plug and play, baby.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
Don't forget, do the work.
I feel you. It's a pain, but it's okay.
Yeah, put some ointment on it.
What is it? No pain.
No pain, no gain.
No gain.
You might gain some weight.
You might gain.
But it's okay. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming by, man, again.
Yeah, dude. Always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. If you have any comments, if you have any questions about what we talked about today, leave them down below. We'll get back to you. Do you want to tell them how they can reach you and their businesses?
You know, reach out to Oak City Music Collective. Check out oakcitymusic.com. Check out all the programming that we have in the Triangle in North Carolina. If you're an artist, feel free to reach out to Oak City if you're looking to get involved, you know, in the area, or if you're coming by this area from other places. We're happy to see if we can implement, you know, you in any of our programming, and check out Incredible Talent Group too, and the artists that we're representing and the shows that we're curating all across the country and around different continents now. So
if someone's interested in you know, looking at your agency and stuff like that, like how would they do that?
They can go to incredibletalentgroup.com and you can find our contact there and our roster of artists and things that we're putting on, and you can follow all the artists that we represent and the shows that they're playing all around, and you know, get in touch with us as well if it's something that you need in representation in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll leave all his contact info below as well. I think that's it. So my name's Oliver. This is Inspired Voices. This is Diego. And we out.